A very good evening to all our viewers today. Today we have with us an extremely talented impact entrepreneur joining us all the way from the US. She's a co-founder and head of impact at Sitti, an impact-driven lifestyle brand that operates between Canada and Jordan. In 2020, Jacqueline led the formation of the Community Impact Team, a refugee managed team of trained individuals who support CG's commitment to refugee self-reliance through regular monitoring and evaluation of stakeholder needs. Jacqueline is also a Fulbright Scholar in 2011 and 2012 in Jordan. She has worked with several nonprofits operating within Palestinian refugee camp community in Jordan. She has an experience working and consulting with the UN agencies such as UNHCR, UNICEF, UNRWA, and INGOs in Jordan and the UAE. She's based. She's not only an entrepreneur. She has also reported for some of the major media channels such as NPR, BuzzFeed, Monocle. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in international studies from Johns Hopkins University. Very warm welcome, Jacqueline. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thank you so much, Harsha. It's really an honor to be here, and thank you for welcoming me. I appreciate it.
Jacqueline, you've had an interesting journey from international relations. You've also done nursing, and you've also been a podcaster. You have been a journalist and a documentary producer, and now you're an entrepreneur. How has your journey been?
Yeah, I hear a lot from people that this is a very interesting background, and I think it either confuses people or it piques their curiosity and they want to ask more questions. But I think for me, the common thread throughout my journey has been the entire time. I think I tried to amplify voices of others through creative storytelling and through listening, and that's really important. So, technically, I wasn't in nursing school, but I did work with the Johns Hopkins School of Nursing as a research assistant. This was right out of college. It was probably the first job out of school where I saw the impact of practitioners and researchers working hand in hand to share what they were learning and to figure out what works to improve the outcomes for real people in real time. And that was a study focused on creating more innovative solutions for women survivors of gender-based violence and intimate partner violence. So, I mean, honestly, I don't really think of myself as an entrepreneur. I see myself really as someone kind of at the intersection of research and participatory action. And at Sitti and in other projects that I've done outside of Sitti, I think it always comes down to trying to work with local communities and bring their unique insights and expertise to the table to create a more informed and inclusive society, right? So, I do that with Sitti. We do that with Sitti through the practice of creating a more inclusive global economy through an approach to market systems development. But it really kind of is a common thread, I think, throughout my journey over time.
So it has been more than a decade that you are leading Sitti Social Enterprise. What actually motivated you to start this journey?
So I came to Jordan in 2011, like you said, and I came with very little understanding of the nuances around women's engagement in society in Jordan. I had never traveled internationally before that, believe it or not, even though I was an international studies major. And I thought, and this was mostly for reasons, financially, it just was really difficult to afford to travel, right? And I thought I would, while I was in Jordan, study the third-party response to gender-based violence. Instead, I kind of fell into this group of women who were taking it upon themselves in this Palestinian refugee camp to basically combat gender-based violence themselves, even though they may not have seen it that way, through their own entrepreneurship. And most of these women were looking for ways to either, leave the house for a couple hours a day, or they were also looking for ways to support their families because their husbands were either unable to work or they had chronic illness that prevented them from working. So these women were really the ones who were holding the community on their shoulders. And I started out actually, as a yoga instructor, which is, again, a bit of a strange way to enter that space. But I was in a bit of a rut with my research, honestly. And so I decided I would do some volunteer work on the side. And that was when I came to Jerash camp in Jordan as a volunteer to teach yoga classes once a week. And during and after these yoga classes, we would do some meditation. I would have the women, we would all sit down together and close our eyes. And I would walk around the room and kind of, give the women like a 2-minute massage on their shoulders, and you could feel how tense they were. It made me tense, even just feeling the stress that they were under. You could tell they were carrying so much. And after classes, the conversations would naturally lean towards the stress around making money. And we would kind of informally brainstorm ideas. Oh, what are some ways that you can earn a bit of money? Eventually, we started to act on those ideas. And the soap kind of happened because I happened to be in the right place at the right time. The women in Jerash camp are so driven, and they're fighters in the best way possible. And there was this one woman who literally pulled me out of a meeting I was in one day. And she pulled me into this space in the camp. It was an old UNRWA complex. And the room, she opened up this room and it just smelled amazing. It smelled like lavender and I was like, this is very, you don't tend to smell those smells in a refugee camp in Jordan. And I'm like, what is this? And there were piles of soap in the room. Close to maybe 300 or 400 bars of soap. And she had told me the Italian embassy had come in to teach a workshop on how to make cold process olive oil soap. And I don't know how many viewers know this, but olive oil soap is actually a traditional process, that has been done throughout generations in the Arab region. People make it in their homes all the time from leftover olive oil. But this particular process was unique. It didn't require heat, and it could be done in small batches. And so she said, they taught us this process. We made all this soap, and now we don't know how to sell it. And she said, can you help us sell it? And I was like, I had probably less than $400 left in my bank account. And I was like, I don't know how long I can stay here in Jordan. But I said, okay, I'll purchase some of the bars off. I think I bought maybe 150 or 200 bars off of her. And I said, I'll see what I can do. And they just sold. I went to friends and family in Amman, in the capital in Jordan. And then when I went back home for a visit, I sold the rest to friends and family here. And everybody loved it. And they were like, this is beautiful. The story is beautiful, but the product is also amazing. Can we have more? Can we buy more? And I was like, okay. And so when I came back to Jordan, I actually was put in touch with two other women who were working on the very same concept, actually in the same refugee camp. And just to give you a sense, I mean, this camp is estimated to be 29,000 people within relatively a square mile radius. It's a very, very concentrated community there. But you can, be working in one side of the camp and not even know there are people doing the same thing on the other side. So I was put in touch with these women, and they were working with another group of women on the olive oil soap, trying to sell the soap. And we said, let's work together. So we came together in 2014, and we ended up starting out very small, but then soon enough, it became a company. And our co-founders, so I'm a co-founder with two other women, Noura Sharab, who is the CEO of Sitti, and Sofia Abu Shanin. She is the country director in Jordan. Sofia also lives in Jerash camp with her family. And so that's kind of when we joined forces, and the rest is history.
Wow, that is so inspiring. So, how many women have been impacted till date by CT?
Yeah, so in 2022, we actually had it's more than just women. So we started out with a group of a few women. It was Sophia and a few other women who had worked with her at the time. Now we have I think it's 76 refugee individuals who are both men and women who have been impacted by income generating opportunities created through Sitti. So these are through 4 different community-based partners we have now in Jordan. When we started out, it was just one partner in Jerash camp. Now we have 4, 2 of which we work with on a continuous basis since 2017. And so, yeah, we're really proud of the fact that we've been able to continue to grow and year over year. And in addition to that, we've also seen income increases year over year for our community-based partners and their team members. So in 2022, from 2021 to 2022, we saw 67% of partners, team members with increased income. So that's a pretty good number. We'd like to see it higher, obviously. But what we're trying to work towards is, that consistency of growth and reaching the potential for our partners to be able to become more self-reliant. Really, it's not so much about individual households as it is about communities, and how can you support enough households and enough organizations to build out a community that's self-reliant.
So presently you're focused on Jordan, but do you see the model that you are developing could be expanded to the other refugee camps as well? You see, there are so many across the globe.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that would be
Yeah, absolutely.
setting an example.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the things that we're trying to work through, listen, every refugee community is different. There are different elements at play, right? Some communities are much more protracted than others. So when we started out, we were working primarily in the Jerash refugee camp, which is a Palestinian refugee camp in Jordan. That community has been there since 1967. That's a long time. And a lot of the people living in that community now are second, third generation. But then you have refugee communities like those who have come over from Syria, and they're not as, established communities. They might be still very, there's a lot of Syrians who are, considering or actually going back to Syria. There are other refugee communities that are very mobile at the moment. They really don't have a place where they're finding any sort of stability. And I say stability it's not stability at all. When you're seeking asylum in a host country, it's very unstable. But for the community that we started working with and continue to work with, they are, I would say, a unique circumstance. They're in unique circumstances. And then there are some communities in East Africa that are also, they've been in those camps for 10, 20 years, or they've started to try to integrate into society. But it's very complicated, and I think that one of the things that we've been talking about, we're a member of the Refugee Self-Reliance Initiative, and it's a global initiative with hundreds of members, but also 30 some member organizations that includes UNHCR. And one of the topics of conversation right now amongst these members is, how do you apply a market systems development approach to refugee communities? Because there is already a lot of vulnerabilities when it comes to markets in crisis. But then you add that other layer of instability, of, not having access to citizenship, not having access to a lot of the rights to employment, things like that. So you're really, there are a lot of variables at play, I guess, suffice it to say. But I think that all that being said, there is absolute possibility and potential for our model to be applied in other refugee communities. And we've also started working on a pilot project actually in Canada with women who are newcomers to Canada. So they were refugees resettled in Canada, and they are women entrepreneurs who are trying to build their own consumer-based product businesses. So we're working with them right now in a pilot project funded by the Canadian Women's Foundation. And that is, we're working to support them in creating and designing new products that can then be introduced to larger corporate brand and luxury brand partners.
That's very interesting and very inspiring. I'm sure a lot of women would be interested more in pursuing entrepreneurship, especially in these kind of circumstances. Now, have you been funded? Did you go ahead and raise any funding from any investor or angel funders?
So up until recently, investment was not something actually we were seriously considering up until a couple of years ago. But I will say over time, Sitti has grown to become much larger than we could have predicted in 2014. Private sector engagement in refugee self-reliance initiatives like Sitti, I think, has always been a bit elusive. And even for us as a for-profit company, we're very careful to seek out the right investors who see refugee self-reliance as a priority. Profits are important, obviously, for a variety of reasons, but they're not the be-all, end-all. And plenty of for-profit companies reinvest their profits into their company's growth. So why not companies reinvesting into communities that create their products, right? So we really are right now welcoming conversations with impact investors who are playing that long game to see their investments as a critical support in like the greater development of market systems where refugees can have a stake, and host countries, or sorry, host economies as well can benefit in the process. We're all stakeholders. It just depends on whether you're willing to see it or not. You may not feel like investing in refugee self-reliance is going to yield an immediate ROI, but refugee self-reliance and the projects and the organizations that are working towards it are more important now than ever. We have the highest recorded increase in global displacement right now. And you kind of couple that with the length of displacement and the lack of sustainable, durable solutions for refugees. There is no reason why we shouldn't be seeing more people come to the table ready to invest in projects like what we're doing, but also what other companies and nonprofit organizations are trying to accomplish.
That's so true. The numbers are only increasing, it's not decreasing, you see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, having worked with refugees, what humanitarian initiatives could the host countries take to include them in society?
I think there needs to be an effort to evolve and move beyond the boundaries of humanitarian initiatives and think more collaboratively. I think when we think of humanitarian, we think of aid, right? And I think there are many more. First of all, we know a lot more now to know better than the fact that humanitarian initiatives, aid initiatives themselves, do not yield self-reliance. They do not create sustainability and sustainable market solutions. I think there are multiple actors at play here within a host country and alongside it. So, like I was saying, you have the private sector, investors and asset management firms who, publicly traded companies. These actors are carrying an enormous amount of capital and influence. You have international NGOs, you have government agencies, UN agencies, civil society organizations, and locally led organizations that have a lot of insight into their communities that we really need to start tapping into more, and we really need to start elevating. More needs to be done to bring these actors together and agree that refugee self-reliance is good for the refugee community and good for the host country, and creating a synchronized approach that includes refugees at the table, and includes them in what is traditionally exclusionary systems, right? Education, healthcare, employment. I think only when we can make that occur, then we'll really start to see a more inclusive society, right?
I totally agree with you, and collaborative approach is something that the heads of the states should think of. What is
Absolutely.
your 5 years? What is your 5 years vision for City?
So, our vision is ultimately an inclusive global economy, where refugee communities can access the tools and resources that they need to become self-reliant. In 5 years, I think we see ourselves expanding definitely throughout Jordan, into other countries in the SWANA region, but also working with resettled refugee communities. As I mentioned, we're launching this pilot in Canada at the moment, but working with those communities in Canada and the US. In 5 years, I think we see Sitti, honestly, we would see Sitti as being a primary social enterprise partner for large corporate brands and major luxury brands who want to be taken more seriously by their consumers, when it comes to impactful and innovative product development in manufacturing. And that really starts with holding these larger players accountable to the UN SDGs that they've committed to. And refugees, they intersect at every single UN SDG you can come up with. There really is no excuse for large corporate brands to not be working with refugee communities, and to not be collaborating with these communities to elevate their skill sets and their talents. This is, I think that we all know that when you're put in a position of constraint and limitations, oftentimes that's when people are the most innovative and they come up with the most unique solutions. The refugee community has been in that position for so long. I mean, there's no reason why these individuals shouldn't be given an opportunity to do more in society, and they want to contribute. They want to be included. So yeah, I think we see ourselves being a major player in that, making that happen.
Yeah, maybe you would cover not only Jordan, but in other countries also there are these problems, and maybe you could reach out to them also. We do look forward to that. Now, IICSR is a dedicated institute to develop responsible business leadership.
Mm-hmm.
What are the topics that comes to the top of your mind that the corporations should be known about and should be trained on?
So I think one thing is stakeholder engagement, how to work with your stakeholders to learn and address their needs, building objectives alongside them rather than for them. For large companies who are often struggling with the behemoth kind of bureaucracy that they have to work with. I think there are also opportunities to talk about the topic of really, again, utilizing the potential, like what these smaller companies and social enterprises have to bring to the table, their insights, their resources. I think that's really an untapped resource for them, and creating more systemic approaches to doing that will be helpful. So that's something that I would definitely consider important.
That's thank you. We will work on incorporating this, and actually, it is one of the modules in CSR and sustainability communication. Stakeholder engagement is a very important topic.
Right.
It has been wonderful talking to you, Jacqueline, and knowing the amazing work that you're doing for the women in the refugee community. Any words or message to our viewers who are watching this program right now, or who would watch the recorded sessions?
Yeah, I would say, it's, first of all, thank you so much, Harsha. This has been a really, really wonderful conversation, and I appreciate all the thoughtful questions. I think that it would be great if anybody is interested in knowing more about Sitti, please check us out. Our website is actually sittisoap.com. This is an ode back to our original product. And we are continuing to work on our partnerships with large corporate brands and luxury brands right now. And so, we just wrapped up a partnership with L'Occitane Middle East. And so if we'd love to be talking to other brands out there who are interested in doing something similar and really creating a more impactful campaign or impactful product. And then, I just encourage more organizations out there who are looking to be heard on a platform where refugee self-reliance is imperative and the primary topic of discussion. We are members of the Refugee Self-Reliance Initiative, as I mentioned, and I really encourage global actors out there, particularly in the private sector space. Asset management firms, investors, impact investors, publicly traded, corporates, lend your voice and your expertise to this community, and you'll also gain a lot in return. So I don't know if there's a way to put a link to the RSRI, Harsha, in the profile or whatever. But that would
you
be great.
can actually, you can actually see the comments section.
Okay.
You can put the link in the comments section.
Great. Okay,
The comments
I'll do that then.
section.
Okay.
Yeah, do it now so it will be telecasted everywhere.
Okay, perfect. I will do that now. I think I need to connect. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
We have one of our viewers who sent the message, Mr. Karthik. Good luck with all the work that you are doing. Amazing enterprise you've created. Your product range is pretty cool.
Oh, thank you.
Who has sent a lot of things, and this is refugee.
Yeah, I believe this is
field.
the link. Let me just make sure
Yes.
that's yes. So please check that link out, and also
If you want to reach out to you.
If you want to, yeah. So you can go to our website, sittisoap.com, and then, feel free to reach out to me. I'm Jackie at sittisoap.com.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you so much, Harsha.
It has been an honor talking to you, and we wish you all the best in the endeavor, and we are always around for scaling up or anything. Happy to collaborate.
Yes. We'll definitely have to talk more. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your presence.
Have a good one.